So today I'm going to give you a breakdown of some of the fitness terms that I wish someone had explained to me as a beginner, because getting going is difficult enough. So if you are here, first of all, well done. Like, making those changes, starting to learn new things is a scary, big, daunting thing, and taking that first step is often the most important. So if you are here, I celebrate you. So I'm going to run through some really quick definitions of things that you might come across in the fitness world. Whether you're working out at home or in the gym, most programs tend to use these kind of phrases. So let's start off with reps, and that stands for repetitions. So repetitions is the number of times you perform a certain exercise. So for instance, 10 squats, 10 times up and down. Now, there are different ranges for repetitions depending on your goals. If you are here as a beginner, then I recommend sticking to that 10 to 12 rep range, because there is a lot of changes your body has to go through in terms of the muscles, the bones, the tendons, the ligaments, the nervous system. So therefore, sticking to that 10 to 12 rep range is a great idea to begin with. If you want to get more specific, then 12 to 15 reps you're starting to work towards endurance, and 5 to 6 reps you're starting to work more towards the 12. Also, with your reps, try and keep 2 reps in reserve. And this is how you know you're working kind of around the right intensity for progress. So what that means is, if you are working to 12 reps, then you should be able to complete 14 reps with good form at that weight. And if you can complete more, it's maybe time to progress the exercise, add a little weight or a different harder variation. If you're struggling to get to that, then maybe back off a little bit, drop the weight, or do a little easier variation of that. So keep 2 reps in reserve is a great rule of thumb. Okay, next one, set. So a set is the number of times you complete a certain exercise. So for instance, those 10 squats might comprise 1 set. You then take a rest and then complete 2 more sets of those squats. Now, normally 3 to 4 sets is enough, and definitely not more than 5. Your body's going to get a bit fatigued and struggle to hold on to good form if you do more than that. Next one, HIIT. You've probably heard of HIIT, and it stands for high intensity interval training. A lot of people sell their workouts as HIIT, but to be honest, quite often they're not. So HIIT involves very intense work periods, and then usually at least double the rest. And I would say be aware of what HIIT is, because then you can make an informed decision. HIIT is quite a high intensity way of working. So unless you live a really chill life and there's not much stressing you out, it's maybe not quite a good fit for you. And I'm not saying don't do it, just be aware it's high intensity. And on top of a high intensity life, does that really fit your goals? A useful question to ask yourself. Okay, now next definition is LISS. So LISS stands for low intensity steady state. It's things like walking, swimming, maybe even a very gentle jog, cycling. And LISS is amazing for heart health. So getting the heart rate up and keeping it up there. Not really, really high, but low intensity. And you might be thinking, oh, this sounds like walking steps. And yes, steps can be a great way to get in some LISS. You've probably heard of the magic 10,000 number. Well, newsflash, 10,000 steps is not some magic number that you have to try and hit. In fact, studies show that the health benefits level off at around 7,500 steps a day. So yes, it can be useful if you're looking to increase your steps, but it's not like an absolute must to get 10,000 steps a day. Next one, circuit or interval training. Now, most things advertising themselves as HIIT are in fact a form of circuit or interval training. It's a very efficient use of time. So you maybe come across classes and workouts and things like that. I'm a big fan of them, and they tend to have a shorter rest than HIIT workouts. So again, if you are pressed for time, it can be a great way of making use of that. Next one, DOMS. So DOMS, that stands for delayed onset muscle soreness. And if you are here as a beginner exerciser, then you probably know exactly what I am talking about. So DOMS occurs because exercise is a stressor and it actually causes little muscle tears. And then when you rest and you recover, your muscle repairs those little tears, it gets stronger, ready to go again with this exercise. Now DOMS is worse 24 to 72 hours after you work out, and it's always most intense when you are using your muscles for the first time or for the first time in a new way. Hence the beginner exerciser, or if you try something like surfing for the first time, there's a higher probability of DOMS. DOMS is not required for a sign of a decent workout. So it's not like, oh, well, I wasn't sore, therefore that workout wasn't working, it wasn't effective. The best way to recover from DOMS is water, take adequate rest, and get enough protein. Stretching might feel good, but it's not necessarily going to help your recovery apart from helping you relax and increase your muscle length. So rest, water, and protein. If you're a little bit sore, doesn't mean you can't then move. In fact, some gentle movement might help and ease things, but it's not required. Okay, we have three more. TUT, TUT. Now, it's sometimes referred to this abbreviation. It stands for time under tension. So that's the amount of time that your muscles are working throughout an exercise. And I think you should be aware of it as a beginner exerciser, because you don't have to always add weight in order to progress. You can increase your time under tension in order to get stronger. And therefore it can keep workouts quite low impact. I don't know what your challenges are or what your body is capable or not doing, and knowing about time under tension gives you options and choice. So for example, a squat is usually like slow down and no pause at the bottom and straight back up. If you are looking to increase time under tension, then you might go slower down. You might take a pause at the bottom. You might even then come slowly up out of the squat. And that increases the amount of the work that your muscles are doing. So slow eccentrics are one way to do it, and paused reps as well. Two more. Okay, so you might hear fitness instructors, trainers say things like, engage your core. And I'd like to tell you, if you didn't already know, that your core is not just your abs. Okay, so everyone has the abs, the rectus abdominis muscle that runs down the center here, but please be aware that your core muscles also involve your TA, your transverse abdominis, your internal and external obliques, your rectus spinae, your multifidus, and your pelvic floor muscles. Yes, there's a lot going on there. So when we say engage your core, the reason why we do that is a lot of people don't have an awareness of their core particularly, or how to engage it. And when we engage it, it can support your back. A good way to think about engaging your core is belly button to spine. And then whilst that belly button is being held to spine, that is your core engaged. Now I would say as well, for a healthy core, when you are not exercising, a soft round belly is amazing for breathing. So if you are concerned about the aesthetics and you're sucking in, that's not necessarily going to be great for your breath over time by freezing your core into one locked position. Your belly is supposed to be soft and round for breathing. Okay, and that brings us into our final one, which is how to use the breath when you work out. So I like to use a little sound by exhale for effort. So it means breathe out during the hardest part of the move. So for instance, if you are squatting, then you would exhale when you come up out of the squat. And I think that awareness of the breath is really important. It increases the mind-body connection. It can also mean if you're starting to lift a little bit more weight, your breath makes or breaks that rep for you. So exhale for effort. I hope that has been helpful. Pop down just below this video and sign up to my newsletter. I've got a load of free stuff to send you that I'm really excited. There's a getting started plan as well, which would be amazing if you are starting your exercise, your health, your fitness journey. Let's keep learning together.